Now that you know workflow automation, it's time to learn a different type of automation for workflow, Process Builder. With Process Builder, you can even further extend the platform to automate even more than workflow does without needing any Apex code. For example, you can also create new records, post to Chatter, and launch flows that have been created by developers. Let's take the scenario where in our company, whenever an opportunity is won, we want to automatically create a contract record. The contract would go on the associated account. Let's start in Setup. We'll then go to Create, to Workflow and Approvals, and then Process Builder. We'll click here to create a new process, then give it a name. Since what we want is to look for opportunities that are won and then do certain actions, I'll call it Opportunity 1. And then I'll save. From this point, it pretty much forces you to do the right things in the right order because everything is grayed out that you shouldn't be able to do yet. So we can see that we can select Add Object, so let's start there. We're basically starting with our criteria. So what object do I want to choose here? If you said opportunity, you're correct. Whenever the opportunity is won, we want to move on to the next steps in our process. Here for starting the process, this is like our evaluation criteria when we were in workflow. So should we start the process only when the opportunity record is created, or when it's created, or when it is edited to meet the criteria? Since we're talking about the opportunity being won, it is unlikely that it will be won as soon as it's created. So let's choose the second option, when it's created or edited, and then we'll just save. Now it is highlighting for us to add criteria. So I'll click here. And the criteria has to also get a name. So since we're looking for a won opportunity, I'll say is won as the name. Then we need to choose whether we want it to use conditions are met here or formula evaluates to true. In this particular case, formula evaluates to true is the easiest thing to do because whatever is down here, there's automatically true put around it. That's there as a default of the system. So all that we have to do to say that the opportunity is won is put the won field in this box. So I'll look for a field. And at the very bottom of the list, since these are alphabetized, is won. And I'll choose that. And that's it. I don't have to put any qualifiers around it because the box itself says true. And what we're looking for being true is that the won field is checked. That's done by the system. The reason that I'm not using the stage field and then saying that the stage is in the won stage is because we could have named that stage all different kinds of things. Some companies also have several different stage values that evaluate to won, but they have slightly different names. So we get around that by just saying, if the system status has identified this as one of the won stages, then evaluate as true. So I'm going to say save. Now for immediate actions, what are we trying to do? We want to create a contract record. So I'm going to go to action type and I'm going to choose from the possibility of launching Apex, creating a record, creating an email alert, creating a flow, actually launching a flow, posting to Chatter, quick actions, submitting for approval, or updating records. I'm going to choose to create a record. And then I need to give it a name. So I'm going to call this Create Contract. And the record type that I want is, of course, Contract. Then we need to set the values for the fields that should be there automatically when this contract record is first created. What is a required field is to reference the account that is related because contracts have got to be related to an account. And the account ID is how the system does it. However, we don't actually know what the account ID's value is. So instead, we're going to use a reference. The reference will be from the opportunity that we're on. We'll go over to the related account of the opportunity, and then we'll find the account ID from that record. And we'll choose that. So now the account ID related to the contract will be the same as the one that was related to the opportunity. Other ones that we might want to set are the status of the contract, which is a pick list. And so I'm going to choose from that it is in draft mode. Since it's just been created, it should be draft. And if I want to add more fields that I put default values in, I could, but I'm just going to save. I could add additional actions right now by clicking Add Action here, such as sending an email to someone or assigning a task to someone, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it as this. I could also come down here and add more criteria of saying after this happens, then evaluate whether this other thing is true and then do more things. And I could keep going and layering these, but I'm not going to. Instead, I'm just going to activate this so that we can see it in action. Now, just note, if I already had some sort of workflow that was doing something similar, in the case of creating a record, I couldn't. But let's say I had been just creating a task. I could have already had that in workflow. So I need to make sure that I deactivate it in workflow before I activate it here in Process Builder, or I could get kind of unexpected results when both try to fire at the same time. But I know that I don't have this already, so I'm just going to hit Activate. Activating this process automatically deactivates any other active version. There is version control for these. That's what it's saying. We're creating it for the first time, so there is no existing version. Okay, there it is. So now let's go take a look at changing an opportunity to 1 and see if we automatically get a contract created for us. We'll start with the opportunity Test Today. And we'll simply change the stage so that it's 1. Now we need to go to the Edge Communications account that this opportunity is associated with and see if our contract was created. We'll come down here to the related lists, and there's our contract. We didn't put any default in for the contract start date or end date, so those fields are empty, but you may recall that we did put in the status of draft. We could always navigate to the record and see other fields as well. It's that easy to create a new record off of an action on another record or create any of the kinds of actions that you were creating in workflow by using Process Builder. For your homework, let's build upon what we just did together. Duplicate the steps you just saw to also create a process that creates a contract whenever an opportunity goes to 1, and also assign a task to the owner of that opportunity, letting him or her know that they should follow up a few weeks later. See you in the next lesson.